Hello friends, my name is Ruslan Bortnik, I'm a political scientist from Ukraine, and today we'll talk about the NATO and Ukraine, domestic situation in our country, of course about the pressure to opposition, about the electoral ratings, etc, etc, etc. Thank you for watching this blog, don't forget to subscribe. NATO. At the International Ukraine Reform Conference held in Vilnius last week, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskiy said that Ukraine is reforming faster than any country in Europe, or most of them. He also said that Kyiv would like to receive an exhaustive list of reforms, the implementation of which will allow to the transition to integration with the alliance. The word of exhaustive, this is the main word. The NATO spokesman answering for this question said, "I don't want to deceive you, I'll say you bluntly. Honesty, it doesn't work that way. There is no specific list of criteria to fulfill them, to know that they have been fulfilled, then membership is given. These are political decisions, not purely technical criteria," Mr. Toure said. This corresponds, this outside dialogue between Ukrainian authorities and Western parties is going on. Ukraine tried to push NATO members to say what Ukraine have to do more to become the member of alliance, but Western countries of NATO are not ready to such type of dialogue. They say that there is not enough only reforms. You should wait for the common decision, consensus inside of NATO countries. At the same time, we understand that there is no such type of consensus, and for nowadays Ukraine has more enemies to interaction with NATO, to become a member of NATO, than it was 12 or 13 years ago. Of course, Ukrainian president understands that there is no possibility to become the member of NATO in the nearest future. But at the same time, I think Zelensky tried to make pressure to these members of NATO to make them guilty or feeling guilty behind of Ukraine, and to push them to make big help for Ukraine in economic life or political decisions, or with helping with army and different time of expenditures. It looks like the dialogue between Ukraine and NATO will come to new problems and new barrier. After that, there will be membership of Ukraine in NATO, or maybe Ukraine will choose another direction of development. In any case, unreachable carrot in front of donkey's nose, inciting him to go in certain direction, is finished. Many years, Ukrainian politicians said that only reforms due to the standards NATO will go Ukraine to the NATO. As we see for nowadays, it's not so. The NATO spokesman said that not enough reforms, that should be also agreement, political decisions from the states. Another more important signal Ukraine took from this summit in Vilnius from the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Spoke about the main steps of Ukraine should take to the successful implements of all necessary reform. He stated this during this reform. The first thing that Blinken noted was the approval of bills regarding the High Council of Justice and the High Qualification Commission of Judges in Ukraine. They should take place in such a way as to guarantee a transparent selection of judges. I think you remember from my previous video, this is talk about the role of international experts of gathering and checking Ukrainian judges. The second position is the selection in the leadership in the National Agency of Fighting with the Corruption, especially Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. The full procedure in both cases think Blinken should be transparent. Blinken emphasized it. What he talked about? He talking about that the new heads of this special agency of Ukraine should be also gathering from counting into account the position of international organization and expert. The third thing is the preservation of corporate governance of state-owned enterprises according to the standards of Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development. This is talk about the advisory board, which is up in Ukrainian state enterprises, and to work of which there is a many questions in Ukraine. For example, only board near the of the national energy company take salaries more than 40 million till the last year. At the same time, the National Energy Company of Ukraine has more than 1.5 billions of expenditure, and this company is not successful for nowadays. The American Secretary of State also called the reform of the State Investigation Agency. It is primarily about the transferring the function of combating economic and corruption crimes to another department. For remembering, it's a talk, and a very hard talk, about the right of SBU to take part in investigation on economic rights or anti-corruption things, which now, this topic now is the place of duty, field of duty of new anti-corruption structure, which are under the control or influence of our Western partners. The last fifth steps, punishment for corruption crimes of people who occupy high government positions. Blinken recalled that since 2014, not a single official has been brought to justice for this. There is nothing more important for the future of Ukraine, secure, prosperous, democratic, than reducing the scale of corruption, said Antony Blinken, and it's very difficult to disagree with him. Of course, these 5 steps from Blinken is very important, especially in the front of preparing the visit of Mr. Zelenskyy to United States, which should be held in the end of July or in the beginning of August. It looks like something like a home task for Mr. Zelenskyy to go for the meeting with Mr. Biden. Also, we have very interesting situation in our domestic policy. At the first, Mr. Zelenskyy voted the law of parliament of restarting our judicial system. We talked about small in our previous video about the different amendments which are opposite each one in that reform. Due to that amendments, one of them, the international expert, will take the main role of counting, of checking the new members of Ukrainian judicial system. Due to another amendment, they have no such role, and this is a problem, and President said it, and I think Parliament in the nearest future will accept the position of President, and international experts will retake their main role in our judicial reform. The second one, the court suspended the action of the National Agency of Prevention Corruption order under Vitrensko's contract. As you remember, maybe you don't know, the National Agency of Prevention of Corruption of Ukraine made this decision that new head of National Energy Company, Mr. Vitrenko, is not be able to occupy this position because he has a corruption conflict. This struggle between the teams of Western partners, which are sitting in advisory council of National Energy Company, and the ex-governor of this company, Mr. Kobolev, and from the one side and from the other side, Mr. Vitrenko and Office President is going on. And of course, the deep fight, hard fight between the Ukrainian government, power from the one side and from the other side, Ukrainian opposition is going on. The court in this week extended the term of the investigation into Viktor Medvedchuk treason till the 9th of September this year. At the same time, the Pechersky District Court of Kiev arrested the head of the board of the Leninska Kuznia plant, Valery Chandra. This plant, which owner is Mr. Poroshenko, and give for them 140 million hryvnias bail to be released. At the same time, special services of Ukraine took the investigation to the Kiev Autodoors, the company which is under control of Mr. Klitschko, mayor of Kiev. All three main opponents of power of Mr. Zelensky, Klitschko, Poroshenko, and Medvedchuk are under the pressure from the state during this last week. It's ordinary landscape, political landscape for Ukraine of nowadays. Of course, we'll talk about also sociology. We take few sociology research on the electoral minds in Ukraine this week. Presidential parliamentary ratings, most of citizens of Ukraine do not approve the activities of President Mr. Zelensky. 7 parties passed to parliament according to sociology research made by Kiev International Institute of Sociology July 5th this year. 64% of respondents believe that things in the country are not going in the right direction. 72% of Ukrainians support the holding of a referendum to ban the sale of agricultural land. Do not support 21. 7% were not undecided or refused to answer. Among those who would take part in vote in referendum, 75% of Ukrainians would support the ban of the sale of agricultural land, one of the most important reforms in Ukraine. The vast majority of Ukrainians, 84%, do not support the sale of agricultural land to foreigners. 56% of Ukrainians believe that the law on the de-oligarchization is not treated to the oligarchs. 53% of Ukrainians disapprove the activities of President of Mr. Zelensky, approve 34%. The leader in parliamentary rating is servant of people, President Party, almost 21% of support. European Solidarity, 15% since the beginning of June, the rating has not changed also. Opposition Platform for Life, 17%. Batyivshchina, 15% of support. Strength and Honor of Mr. Smishko, 7%. The Radical Party of Oleg Lyashko, near the 6%. Ukrainian Strategy of Groisman, near the 5%. Party of Sharia, 3 and 7%. Freedom, 2 and 2. Voice, 2%. Ours, 2%. Udar, 1.5%. For Future, 1.5%. The result of the sociology research suggests the following. Despite the fact that the government team maintains a leading position in the rating, the citizens of Ukraine generally do not approve the activities of Mr. Zelensky. In particular, the overwhelming majority of citizens oppose to opening of the land market and don't take serious the president's legislative initiative on the de-oligarchization. According to another survey of the sociology group rating, in the presidential rating continues to lead. With Mr. Zelensky, 29% of respondents. In comparison with the poll published in May, the president rating has not changed significantly, -1% with a margin of error. Petro Poroshenko, 13% of support, +1.5%. Boyko, 12.5%, there is no serious changes. Yulia Tymoshenko, 11% from May, plus almost 4%. Smishko, near 9% of support. Murayev, 5%. Groisman, near 5%. Lyashko, near 3%. In the second round of election in pair of Zelensky against Poroshenko, Zelensky wins with a result of 65 till 35. In pair of Zelensky against Tymoshenko, 61 by 39 for Zelensky. In pair of Zelensky against Boyko, 66 till 34 to Zelensky. The rating of trust in political is topped by Vladimir Zelensky also. 46% of respondents trust him. 52% do not trust Zelensky, balance -6. Yulia Tymoshenko is trusted by 30%, not trusted 68. 25 till 58 Yuri Boyko. 24 till 75 Petr Poroshenko. 16 till 70 Viktor Medvedchuk. Denis Shmyhal is trusted by our prime minister, is trusted by 16% of Ukrainians, not trusted 52, and have no heard about him 28%. One of four Ukrainians does know who is Mr. Shmyhal. It's a very good result, I think. Anti-ratings of politicians is headed by Petr Poroshenko. 45% of people would not vote for him under any circumstances. 36% would not vote for Boyko, 32 for Tymoshenko, 27 for Zelensky, 24 for Leshko, and many people for Yatsenyuk, Tyagnybok, or even Murayev. The leader in the parliamentary rating is servant of people, 25%, in comparison with the survey conducted in the beginning of May. The party rating has not changed. From April 2021, the servant of people rating has not changed also. Stable situation. European solidarity of Petro Poroshenko, 13.5%. Opposition platform for life, almost 13%. Batyvshchina, almost 12%. The rest of parties do not overcome the 5% barrier. Strengthens core balance on the brink on passing to Parliament of Ukraine. They have almost 5. Radical Party almost 5. Ukrainian strategy of Groisman 4.5%. Muraev's party Nashi, ours near 4%. Udar Klitschko 4%. Party of Sharia near 4%. The rating of other parties does not exceed 3%. Thank you for watching this vlog, friends. Don't forget, don't be ashamed to write down the question. I will try to answer for all of them. See you next time. Bye-bye.